Hello, I'm Simba and this is Simba's Oddities. So, I had a cool idea. Such a cool idea in my opinion, I just had to make it. So what material to choose? Well, one of the coolest materials available, titanium. Only problem with titanium is it's quite expensive, but luckily somebody was selling some on eBay fairly cheap. So where to start? Well, I found an engineering drawing on GrabCAD, which is over there. Once the material had arrived, it's time to start machining. First thing we did was square up the blocks on the milling machine. First thing to do is clock it up in the forge hole in the lathe. Then we added the groove and the chamfer on the lathe using a form tool. I'm putting in the groove and the chamfer all in one operation using a form tool. As you can see from the colour of the material being removed, the cutting angles aren't perfect. This is because I ground the tool by hand on a 6-inch bench grinder before I got my shadowgraph. So I had no way of checking if any of the angles were correct. I just eyeballed it the best I could, and this is the result. Luckily, my lathe is a heavy old lump that doesn't like to move or flex, so good old Holly didn't grumble, she just powered on through. Then the next job, we have to recess what I call the button in the centre of the part. Going back to the mill, we put in the first slots. These are quite easy because they are fairly large, but we have to be careful not to run into the button. The position of this slot is not super critical, as you'll see later on. All that matters is the depth. So this is where we are at now. Next up is the chamfers. This is another easy operation and it's starting to take shape now. Now we're getting somewhere. You can really start to see the shape. Next up is putting on the chamfers. There's 12 edges to do per cube. So this next bit is where things really started to slow down. So we've gone from doing 6 faces to 12 edges to 4 chamfers per face, so 24 features. These are slightly tricky as we're having to match the depth as close as possible. Luckily I'm holding fairly good tolerance, less than 0.1 of a millimetre, which not bad, especially considering this machine is almost 70 years old. Anyway, the chamfers are done and this is what we've got. Now to slow it down even more. We're going to put in some little grooves using a 2mm end mill. I'm running my milling machine as fast as it will go, but still I'm taking it super steady because I'm feeding it in by hand. Anyway, I'm getting to know my milling machine a bit better now. It's just taking its time. To be honest, it's not that bad. I'm trying to match the depth as best I can so I don't have to try and polish down in this groove. I'm just raising up the bed of the milling machine so there doesn't seem to be a visible step. This was the first time I machined titanium and it wasn't too bad. Really, you just need really sharp tools and it cuts fine. It's looking sharp. Too sharp to be fair, so we need to knock off them corners. I'll do this with a hand file. So, to the final machining up. Unfortunately, I don't have a CNC machine yet, so we're going to have to do this a bit of an old school method, with a bit of modern help. To do this, we're going to use the Pantograph. No, not that Pantograph, this Pantograph. Tried to batch out a few. Like an idiot, I made the 4 large ones, just thinking, oh, they'll fit in a whiskey glass. They just about do, but I think they are just too large. I'm using tungsten carbide PCB engraving bits just because they're the cheapest, most available that I could find in the time frame. They're not ideal, obviously. They're not designed for cutting titanium, so I went through a few of them, but they're so cheap, it doesn't matter. I 3D printed a template, double size, and then just scaled it down in the Pantograph to 2:1. Again, this took quite a long time because I was having to drop down incrementally fractions of a millimetre. The cutting bits didn't really like it very much. The finish isn't brilliant, leaves a bit of a texture at the bottom, but I kind of like it. It really makes it stand out a little bit more. So that's it all done. After a quick polish, this is the result. If you've made it this far, thank you very much for watching. If you'd like to see me make this, then consider subscribing. Oh, as Columbus said, just one more thing. This is titanium, and that means... In all, I made 8 of them, 4 of the large, 4 of the small.